It's gonna boot me off. I don't trust you. I don't trust this thing now. It's. I'll probably be talking to myself for a while because frickin' thing. I doubt I can share it out. It doesn't share. Hey, sorry about all that. I did everything known to man to try and get this thing to work, and it booted me off 3 times. Like it says, no go. You cannot live stream. And I don't know what I did wrong, but something apparently. What's going on, Bill? I'll probably mention it more along the conversation if we have a conversation. If people come in here, I am going on vacation Saturday, so Wesley and I discussed briefly about next week him possibly getting on or something. But if that's the case, then he'll be driving the conversation on Thursday if he wants to do it by himself. But I will be up in the Adirondacks, and I'm pretty sure there's Wi-Fi where I'm going. But last I was up there, it was weak, so I'm not even gonna attempt to run YouTube up there. It's beautiful up there. It's away from everything. It's great, but also my connectivity to civilization is very small, and that's okay. We really look forward to it. My week has been interesting. It's been hot. Didn't go so well last Saturday. I can tell you that. And the next question here: what's a good conditioner that does not soften the tire? Depends what you want to do to it. If you're talking about track line, I can give you that. If you're not talking track line, if you want to put something as simple as WD-40 on a tire, that will add some oils back into the tire, not let it dry out. If you're talking track line, Ruby is a really good conditioner that doesn't that shouldn't soften up the tire too much. It's pretty. A lot of people use Ruby to cut stuff, like if they don't have Acrosol for black sand, they'll use Ruby. Because it's very mild, but it's got some benefits to the tire to add stuff back into the tire. But as far as weekly conditioner, something WD-40 wouldn't be crazy. Depends what you have in the track line. Honestly, if you want to build bite, as far as conditioner, Tire Tough Mint, it's expensive, but it's oily and it's pretty heavy. But ideally, the mint you let 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, it does soften. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with Ruby, but I know it to be very mild. I've used it as a conditioner before, but Tire Tough Mint will drop maybe 1 or 2 points, but it builds a ton of bite in a tire. It's the component that makes black sand work is in mass in Tire Tough Mint. And much like black sand, if you're using pure black sand, it takes a week to really get the benefits out of black sand. If you're wiping it purely on a tire, Tire Tough Mint will take 2 to 3 weeks. You can tell right away when you pour it into a dish to spread or whatever. It's very thick. It's definitely a more of a conditioner, but it doesn't drop durometer, but 1-2 points maybe. And then even if it does drop those points, they should come back up. Yeah, I suppose with the penetrant, WD-40. You know what I've always wondered is, what I love the smell of. I don't know if anybody else is into firearms. But hops 9. It doesn't have banana oil in it. I wonder what that would do to a tire. It's just, I'm not actually going to try it. I thought it was kind of, I love the smell of hops 9 in the morning. My wife, on the other hand, does not. I actually had to get a different brand that didn't have a scent to it because it was driving her nuts that I would funk up a whole room, which is weird because I've been racing karts for 20 some odd years, and I've been prepping for almost that long, and she's gotten quite used to that smell, but not that one. uh, oh, nice. Sorry, I just got back up there, Wingnut. Won the open race last weekend at Sickle Hill Park. That's awesome. Have you tried Gonzilla? I have not. What is it that I have? Shoot. I can't for the life of me think of it off the top of my head. It's unscented, pretty much. I mean, it's got a mild scent to it, but it's unscented. Shoot, I had a T-shirt of theirs too when I bought the stuff. Yep. Yeah, congrats, Wingnut, on the win. I thought that I had a chance at a win this weekend. Practice. If anybody caught my video, from Adrenaline Mountain there, it was slick, but the cart turned, and I was like, all right, I can deal with this. I also went with, I should be running the Reapers. I hadn't run Vaga Yellows in quite a while, and honestly, it's one of, if not my favorite tire to run, just because of my experience with it, with the open stuff. So I thought, you know what, let me run the Vagas. I know that to be the tire of choice up there, so let me take those. And, I seem to be pretty on point with tires. And the track lost a little feature especially coming out of 4. Anyway, Kart really turned well in practice, even though it was slick. All right, pull off and, work the tires a little bit. And in my heat race, the guy who ran second to me said I had 5-6 karts on him. So at that place, that's better part of the straightaway from what I know, or what I can guess. So I really, and another gentleman came up there like, dude, you're hauling the mail. You might have the cart to beat. And it's like, the cart felt amazing. Like, the tires were under me, the chassis was working, everything. We got off that start there, and honest, I can't be mad at what happened because in clone racing, that's what you got to do. I was outside pole, they shuffled me. They roughed me up a bit. They got me out of the groove. Not that they knew how fast I was going to be or I thought I could be, but you didn't want me out in the lead because I might have set sail like I did in the heat race. So I guess, to my angst, they roughed me up. They got me out of the groove. They got me shuffled back to 5th. Quickly recovered. Got back to 4th. Ran down 3rd. Ran him really clean, although he was one of the karts that got into me off the start there. I ran him real clean. I could have late dive bombed on him a couple times there, and I didn't do it because I want to do a video, and I can't do it alone as far as this concept. The culture of taking everything you can. I get it. I get why people do it. You see it from the upper echelon of NASCAR all the way down to karting, that you keep your foot in it no matter what. And if somebody wrecks, they wreck. And even if it's one person, I hate to drive that way, and I'm trying not to. Like, I got up to the 3rd. If anybody watched my video there, I got up to the 3, challenging for 3rd, and I didn't run him dirty. I didn't dive bomb him. I didn't wreck him. There was numerous times I could have taken him out, and if I didn't mean to attempt to use this channel, use this position I have, Amber, position I have to try and run as clean as possible. It doesn't mean I have a history of UAS and being aggressive. I was telling one of my best friends, we're talking about, he lives in Florida, and we're talking about, he's just like, so, we're talking about the race, and I was, lamenting a little about, what happened this weekend. And I said, honestly, I think that a level 7 out of 10 aggressiveness in UAS is like a 3 in clone karts. There's a difference there. I would say I was probably a 7 or 8 aggressive UAS driver. I got myself in some confrontations sometimes. It does happen. I was considered aggressive, and the way I'm driving in Cologne, I think is pretty mild, but not that far off of the way I ran UAS. And it's just like I don't know. Maybe I'm not being aggressive enough. Maybe I'm just making poor choices in race line and stuff like that. It is what it is. Something to consider for anybody. You know, when I find myself talking about my experiences and just trying to relay them to you guys because that's all I have to go by. But you know, take what I'm experiencing, you know, and relay it to your own racing, I guess. Hey Nathan, going to the Big O next weekend. Excellent. Bucket list race. Definitely one of those awesome races I really want to get to. And every time I think about open racing, I stare at my Bama sitting over there just lonesome as can be because I've been doing the clone thing. Definitely a bucket list race. We're, like I said, we're going up to the mountains this weekend, though. As far away from racing as possible, although I'm sure I'll be in DMs, you know, answering people's questions the best I can. Here's a topic that I've been getting questions about treaded tires in prep. Now, it's tough because in theory, prep works the same. I mean, you know, you hear of big cars doing it, they prep tires or whatever, but it's just, you know, the lugs on it, when you have a tire that has lugs, I call them lugs, you know, they're treads. There's different surface area to consider there, not just a flat surface. So I'm wondering if, you know, heavy prep, say a GoPro or track tank line, if you're running a Topaz, a better GoPro, something like that, if you're softening the edges, what kind of effect that's having on the traction on the racetrack. It's something that, you know, people ask, and you can, you know, you absolutely internally prep them. I'm just wondering, usually tread depth is different, you know, they're bigger lugs on a treaded tire. So I'm curious how much that internal prep would penetrate up through the tread, how much you would need in order to do it to make that something that, you know, worth considering. Or do you just do external prep, something like SST5 if you're, you know, looking for a whole bunch of bite. If you want to consider using GoPro or Topaz or something like that, super duper aggressive. Yeah, I'm all my experience. I won't say all my experience because at one point in time I did have treads. When we started open racing, I had some Burris, you know, TX11s, I think, TX22, something like that, maybe a combination thereof. And they just made my cart feel weird. I've explained this before. I like to drive a corner. I don't like it. I'm not a pitchy type of guy. I don't like to drive sideways. I can do it. And there's a need for it sometimes, but if I can help it, I just try and drive a corner. You know, so there's that. Nice. Yeah, there's part of me that wishes I was as good at that I would get, we'll say hired, not paid, but hired to run somebody else's cart in some of those bigger races. That'd be great because the biggest thing for me is, you know, my own equipment, getting it down there, this and that. But if I was a better driver, those opportunities would come about. But we go into that aggression thing. Sometimes a little too aggressive for you, yes. Sometimes bad stuff happens when I get behind the wheel. There's that. What's going on, Evan? How you doing, man? Evan's my buddy from the gym. I just got done doing chest day. I pre-exhausted myself in the gym because my son Ethan was on the bench, and I still, you know, I'm a dude. I like flat bench, but I started on incline, then I went over to some cable flies, and then I ended up on the flat bench, and finished off the freaking workout by doing some incline dumbbells, the 90s. I had two 90s in my hand. I got 4 reps before I had to quit because I was going to freaking drop them on myself. It was almost a bad time. What's going on? Yeah, I didn't get many questions in the Dirt Kart Racer comment section there. So if you guys have any, if you have any questions or want to interact with me at all, that's what I'm relying on today. Unless you want me to ramble on about just really weird stuff, I always start the conversation sitting down. All right, man, did you do some heavy weights today? Yeah, the 90s. That something about. So those of you who don't lift, and I know I'll make this brief because you guys it might not be into it. The difference, barbell, just one bar, it's easier to push a lot more weight with a single. Once you separate them into dumbbells and you're relying on all your stabilizer muscles, I can press a lot. Most people can press a lot more with a barbell rather than a dumbbell. The 90s were serious. It's the heaviest I've incline pressed, and but I think I can. If I got 4 there, that was at the end of. If I do them at the beginning of the workout, I think I can get more strength, get more hypertrophy out of it, because I'm getting older and staying in shape's a necessity, I guess. I'll give you that. I've been asked that before about, and I've done videos on it, but about do some core work, get yourself, exercise is never a bad thing, even walks, man. Just get yourself breathing a little heavy. I raced last weekend, and no problem. I used to get freaking whooped for a lot of years, for a long time. What should I ask from a sponsor? It's tough. I find myself in this position with the channel, with my own. I don't like to, I feel as if it's begging, even though from my position and this channel, I have, something to offer to them. The Spirit Octane's right here. Obviously Track Tack is in every one of my videos. They are my personal sponsors and channel sponsors. It's tough. I hate asking for stuff. So in general, how much is it to sponsor something, or how much should I ask for something? Is it a product? That's I would be way more, confident in that ability. Say I were to reach out to Bully and say, hey, I would love to feature you on the channel. Would you sponsor me a clutch? Hey, I need tires, this and that. But I've done a video on this before. Being where kart racers, you are honestly relying on just the goodness of people, because we don't have a billboard like NASCAR does. We don't have, meet and greets. We don't have all the fan engagement stuff, the activation as they call it when you go to the track. We don't have those type of things. So you're really hoping that just out of the goodness of people's hearts, that they're willing to support your program, that you can make yourself kind of marketable in that sense, that you're a friendly person, that you're not going to, do them dirty and act a fool on track or anything like that. But as far as what to ask for, it's tough, because any little bit will help. $50 helps, $100 helps. It helps you get to a race. And what's it worth to you? Do they get a sticker on the cart? Do they get every time you race, you mention to them on Facebook? There's always a social media aspect of it. Like if they do have something on Facebook or stuff. So monetarily, I've heard of sponsors, even for carts. I've had conversations with people that $300, was, the dude thought it was a lot of money, because I spoke to the person that gave him the money. He thought $300 was a lot of money for his business. I don't disagree, but they're very matter-of-factly, well, for a yearly thing, it's $300, and I was just like, ooh. I mean, I would take anything, because I'm broke. So but it's really up to you. You just got to have have a conversation with them that what would be comfortable to you, and say a set of tires is $300. I can tell you that. That's what a set of tires costs. We'll say burrs, not we're not talking Reaper here. Or you want to, if you're Reaper racing, that'll buy you 2 sets. But mention to them, hey, this is what that costs. A clutch is $300. A used clutch is $200. A brand new clutch is $300 to $400, depending. So mention to them the cost of what things are to you, and maybe they'll be like, well, I could handle 100 here, I could handle a couple hundred here, and then be ready to offer them, hey, I'm going to mention you on Facebook, I'm going to put you on my cart, just something that they know that you're not just overlooking their dollar. Will I make a trip to Hunterstown this year? Maybe. Hunterstown's fast, man. My clone skill set. Maybe. It depends. I have Reapers. I have Maxis over there, depending on if it's the Nationals or whatever they're running at Hunterstown. I've considered it. It all comes down to this. If I have money to do it and the weekend to do it off, yes. If it doesn't conflict with anything that I'm already doing, which I don't. The only thing I really want to do that I have set this year is AMS. I want to make the John Layfield Memorial race. I think it's a 50 lap or something like that. I don't know that I'm going to run 2 classes. Maybe I will. 100 laps, no big deal. What is the rip for tire burn up the inside in the first third of the tire asphalt over racing? That has to do with how much it's two things. It's rollover. You got a tire here. All right. So if your tire is straight like this, when you do this, camber helps it turn, but it also increases the pressure on the inside of this tire. Also, you have to consider that forces, as the tire is biting, forces are pulling this tread this way and causing the tire to get bigger in this section. So the more the tire is, it's ballooning this way, a rollover. The sidewall's allowing it to roll over. So the inside edge on your right side tires, right rear, right front, are always going to wear excessively, usually on the shoulder or the edge, as we call it. Going back to your recent video on your race, over aggressive drives run people away from the sport. Yes, it's tough. If you're not aggressive enough, you find yourself where I was in traffic, and there's almost a thing, no matter how fast your kart is, sometimes it's a mental thing. You start driving the pace of the people around you, and you don't realize you're doing it. Like, I believe that I was faster than, clearly I was faster than fourth and third, because I run third, both of those down when I got put back to fifth. But you start driving their pace because you get used to their lift points and where they're entering the corner, exiting the corner. And you also start moving around and moving away from where you're fastest. I was definitely getting way too low. It was starting to, other people are doing it too, so it was bringing dirt and crap onto the racing surface, and it was causing me to lose grip off of 4, but I was changing the fastest line I could run because he was in it. I was looking around, but you mentally, sometimes you find yourself running that pace. You see it a lot, or I see it a lot when I watch motocross, that even a guy as good as, Jet Lawrence or Chase Sexton right now, some of them guys, when they get back in the pack, sometimes you're just mentally, you get racing with guys, and it seems like they're going at a good clip, but you're not going as fast as you possibly can go, not only because they're in your way, but just mentally their lift points become your lift points, and you're like, and then you're caught up in it. Like, I think I had a piece to win last Saturday, and I got trapped back there, and it is what it is. But yes, the aggressive driving is, I understand it, but also I disagree with it, but also I've been known to do it. So take what you will from that. Yeah, I wish there was more content, people, and not that I don't like cornering the market on on the YouTube side of things. Karting Keepsakes is doing a great job with the videos and everything. If you get a chance, absolutely follow them. Four Takes and Fuel. Their podcasts. They're going to start doing some YouTube stuff, which I think is fantastic. I don't need to. Not that I'm the only person on YouTube, but there's very few of us. The more the merrier. There are a lot of kart racers. out here and getting interaction, growing our sport, all the stuff is all good. Welcome. I'd love to watch some more of it. There's only so much of me I want to watch it myself. I hear myself speak every day. I don't need to listen to that crap. What's a good number of sets of tires to have races stock clone with burst 3 spec? What do those tires look like? Variations, diameter, range. Yeah, 4 sets is not. It's not a bad number. I would say if you're being on the money conscientious side, bare minimum 2, for the specifically to have a fresh set for the feature. Now, I don't completely subscribe to this concept, but then again, I have so very little experience with the whole. There are people out there that believe you have to have a fresh set of Burst 33s every single time you hit the track. Now, are they incorrect? Probably not. Do I believe that to be true? It's hard for me to say that because it's. Once a tire cools off, does it not cool off? Why does that tire completely lose its ability to grip the track if it's completely cool? I don't understand. I think I talked about this last week. I have a hard time subscribing to it. Does it mean that I'm correct? No. Because there is a reason people do what they do. There was also, I was talking with somebody about a chemical groove via a chemical groove as opposed to a track condition groove. So there's a reason certain people prep and run tires a certain way due to the amount of prep that is on the track, not per se what the actual track is made of, if that makes sense to you. But yes, so there are variabilities here, and I'll try and go through them quickly. Durometer with Burst 33s, rarely, I mean, it depends on what kind of track you're on. If you're racing Burst 33s on a wet, sticky track, then yes, your durometers are going to want to be down a little bit more. But I've never run a Burris more, any less than like 40, 45 duro. That was with some goat, wiping the crap out of the thing in order to get bite on a track. But that I was also doing it previous to that. But normally, 33s are punching anywhere from 50 to 60. So having a variation somewhere in there is going to be a good idea. Now, where I spoke about that, how many sets you have, there, if you were to do what the people say and change a set of tires every single time that you're on the track, you're going to want tires that are sized almost identically. Just change out the tire. So say they're all durometer 52, but you want that same set of tires every single time you hit the track to be exactly the same. There's that. So I'd say on your cheap side, you're going to want at least 2, possibly some extra left rears for sizing if you need more rear stagger type of thing. 2, I'd say 4 is going to make you plenty fast. Now, up until this point, I've ran Burst Track, and I had one good set of Burst 11s, and I had to run them the entire night. Now, I was definitely missing tenths due to that. First off, they're older tires. Secondly, I had to rerun those same tires in 2 different classes, so I definitely know I lost speed there. So, but yeah, ideally, 3 to 4, you could probably get away with it. Practice, you don't build a ton of heat in your practice tires, so I'm gonna probably do a video on practice etiquette pretty soon here, or not etiquette, but what I think I've done it something along lines before, but somebody brought to my attention what I was doing in my last video at Adrenaline in practice, and I wanted to mention that to people. Might be something you want to consider. Yeah, 4 sets. Duro should be vary from 60 down. High 40s. Yep, I don't disagree. Ever thought about racing clockwise? I have Genesee Valley Kart track. GB. Anyway, the closest track to me actually is a road course track. It's in Avon, New York. not Avon, but Avon, New York. It's 20 minutes from me, but I'm not a road race kind of girl. I could be. You could probably talk me into it, but rights and lefts. I mean, I've been doing lefts for 22 years this year, so it'd be kind of hard to get me to go right. But I do, like I said, I love all forms of racing. I love, like, I go to my amusement park and I'll race karts there, no problem. Have a blast doing it. So could you talk me into some road racing? Absolutely. I will say this. So my local, it's not an amusement park. It's just a little. It's called Minahans. So they got miniature golf and arcade and food and just a summer spot type of thing. They have a road course, a little road course thing, and then they have an oval. And I tell you what, when I was rolling by to go to the kart track and I look over and they're running backwards when they're making right-hand turns on an oval, it gave me the heebie-jeebies. It was this is unacceptable behavior, but I get it. They all have torque converters, so they didn't have to change tires around. They just ran them the other way, so the tires wore evenly. But yeah, road course sounds great. Making right-hand turns. I don't have anything against it. I'm more of a dirt guy. It's what I enjoy. I don't know. There's so much to learn, so much to get good at in this sport or in this type of racing that adding another form to it is just going to confuse the crap out of me. Okay, had a better wreck last year. You aren't kidding. So a little story on that. He was talking here. I had a bad wreck last year. I find myself still not putting my cart where it should be to make a pass. Not as bad as was last year. Any hints on getting by it? I have been there. I've rolled a cart a couple times at Paradise, that big track. If you guys ever seen the footage, that I flipped there a couple times. It was not fun, to say the least. Very sore, bent a lot of stuff and this and that, and it has made me gun shy. At big fast tracks, or it did for a long time until it's just time. And that's I was going to bring this up. So it was, I don't know, a month ago, last time I ran there, I was having a conversation with a mom at track, and her kid had the exact same thing. Like, he is lap traffic, and he wasn't last year. Like, he was on it. Well, he got into a scuffle with another cart, hit the wall, pretty bad wreck. Nothing broken or anything, but it injured his confidence more than it injured any. It didn't break anything on his body. It didn't hurt his cart. It's until you put yourself in those circumstances and find out you're going to be okay, it's going to take a minute. And, little by little, maybe you don't want to be as aggressive right off the bat, but that's eventually what I would suggest you're going to have to do. You're going to have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to know that you're going to be fine and that you can push it that hard again. And, it's the same with grip level. It's you push it till you don't have grip, and then you find yourself spinning out or close to it, and you go, right there's the line that I got to go to. Thoughts on treaded versus slicks? Treads have their purpose. And there's even more purpose now when they're mandated by the track, the body, whatever it is. They have a purpose multiple purposes here. To keep things even, hey, you're running treads, no prepping allowed. We're going to confiscate the tires for the week. You'll get them back next week. That type of thing. I think that's a fantastic way to keep things even. As far as treads versus slicks, it depends on track. Typically, and not all the time, I'll say this typically, treads are slower than slicks. If you get on a good track with any amount of bite in the groove or whatever, slicks are going to be faster. There is more of a contact patch there. It's the same type of concept that you see NASCAR when they run the road courses, and they have the wet weather tires versus the slick tires. When they could at Chicago, if anybody watched the NASCAR race, when they went and they had slicks on, the slicks were faster than the treaded tires. There's more surface area. The treads wear out quicker, this and that. Now, this is all track dependent, because if you get on an extremely sandy on a sandy track, if you get the kind of mealy, it breaks up. If there develops somewhat of a cushion type of thing, treads are going to find traction where a slick will fail. But if you're, apples, or if I were to take right now, if I were to go down to AMS, where I've been kind of running, and I were to try and run treads against everybody in slicks, I would be, if I had to guess, somewhere in the neighborhood of a second off the pace. That's not going to be any good just because you're giving that up. Can I run different lines than them guys? Sure. You're going to change gear ratios, this and that. That's also, something to consider, that when you run a bigger treaded tire, they are bigger. They're, say your right rear, typically we're in slicks, we're dealing with a 34-inch circumference on a right rear. You're looking at anywhere from 35 to 37 on a treaded tire. So you're going to have to change your gear ratio, to get your engine within its parameters type of thing. So you're going to, if you run a bigger tire, you're going to run smaller driver or bigger rear gear in order to spin that tire, because of the difference in circumference there. But like I said, it's really a track dependent thing, and it really, what part of the country you're in. There are some tracks that are mandating them in certain classes. Fantastic. I think it's great. Put everybody on an even surface. Your driving skill against driving skill. I get it. I totally get it. I like tire prep. I think it's just an add-on to what we already do. But that's me. And that was even before Track Tag came on as a sponsor. Obviously, they just came on this year. I've been talking about tire prep since the very beginning of this channel, and been using tire prep since 2005, 6. I mean, we wiped WD-40 on them before that, but actual tire prep, I think I tried wintergreen in 05, and then was on Track Tag from 06 or 07 on. So I've been using them for quite a while. You're into the clones. What do you think some of the best engine builders are? Oh, yeah. Enzers, I would say there isn't a ton to be had. It depends on, and also depends on what class you're running. Down south, I hear NKA, those are, for the most part, what everybody's running. Up here, up north, AKRA. So the difference between the two, real quick, from my limited knowledge, is that NKA, you can run a slightly hotter cam. And then in AKRA, you're allowed to port the headwork. So there's where I believe an engine builder really comes into the fray, and who to trust on that. Who does the best port work, who can get the best, it's Enzer's a very well-known name up here, and I won't say just PA. I've heard of them, obviously, and I'm in New York. I run Motorworks. They are, friends of mine. The pieces have been friends of mine for a long time. Mike, that I have never felt like I've been out horsepowered by anybody. Real reasonable pricing, just my choice. But maybe if you with clone racing, I would possibly try to find somebody with a little bit of track record. If you're local, look around, see what other people are running. And obviously their performance, if they're getting wins, if they're running up front, if you pull up behind them and that your gear is similar and they're able to eke you a little bit, take note. Hey, where's that? Who's built that engine? Not saying they're cheating, but did they build a really good engine or not? I never once, since the beginning of the year, felt like I was being out horsepowered. I definitely, handling tires, I've been off, or weight, because typically I'm a 250-pound, 15-pound human, so I'm always just a tick heavier than everybody else. But yeah, you can't go wrong with the Jimmy Rivers, the GRPW, the Enzers. There are just Excalibur, Welch. Yep. Locally, Headrush is one. I see a bunch of their engines around. Also, Chavis. They're real big in New York too. I've seen their engines, and I've seen their engines do very, very well. Matt Chavis, I think that's how you say it. Um, I think there's very little to be gained. So when you find somebody that you can see their performance, you can see their reliability, that they're not blowing up all the time, that stick with it. I'd say there's more to be gained from tires and chassis and driving than there is the little itty bitty bits of horsepower. Of course, you want as much horsepower as possible. I came from UAS world, so I know all about horsepower and wanting more of it when you get back to it. But with a clone, they're all, pretty similar. Some run better than others, and that's also batches of engines. Sometimes you get a batch of engines where the head, just meets up with the block perfectly. The flow is just, whatever cast reason, it's just changed slightly, and that may pull like a truck. It may not be the engine builder at all. Maybe it's, something that was in the casting of the head. I'd say they're all pretty close, but just if you're looking into clone, if you're looking JC Specialties, there's another one. If you're looking into clone, just locally pay attention to what's doing well, what other people, and again, like, I mentioned the chassis stuff before, where you can get help from other people. Is your you can order, a Miller if you want. That's fantastic. Now, Miller's not going to be pitted 3 trailers down from you. If I go to AMS and I have a question about my engine, Mike and Kyle are right there. And I can go over, hey, man, I have this problem. Hey, what do you think about this gearing? Hey, these things, so consider that. Maybe it isn't all about the name or, what you paid for it or, hey, you got to have one of these. Maybe it's more about support. Hey, this engine on the dyno performed really good between these RPMs. Maybe keep it sub 7,200. Maybe keep it sub 7,000. This engine pulls really, really good. It's got a real strong bottom end, so keep it from cresting that 7,000 mark. And, just these little things all can add to, performance on track. So there's my thought on that, I guess. Now that I'm a clone racer, I did get asked, if I'm ever going to run the UAS. Yes. I will get in my UAS ride before the year's out, I do believe. But I am having, as frustrating as it is, being a clone racer and being roughed up the way I've been roughed up. It's mostly my fault. Driving style, my tires not being on par because they're older. There's numerous things that, this qualifying not as good as I should qualify. I think that I can run, I have top 5 speed in most tracks around here. For the most part, I need to get better. I need to get better tires. Just that's all on me. This whole clone thing. I think I can drive a clone. I just, it's experience. I'll learn, and I'll pick up some new tires before next year, and hopefully be a little more competitive. There was something else I was going to mention. Nope. I haven't. I gotta shoot a video or 2 tonight after I get off here. Holy crap, we're almost at 8 o'clock. Of course, I was late getting on here, so there's that. Got the Kart wash, got it broken down, got the engine. Oh, I got to do a video on the purging thing, whether or not you guys think that's a good idea or not. I'm still torn on it. I just... Ooh, and I got to do a video on tearing apart the... tearing apart the carbs and cleaning those. I gotta get my bench cleaned off, get one of the carbs off of the clones, tear it apart, show you what's going on in there, what to kind of pay attention. I'm not overly experienced with it, but they're not super complicated, so for the most part, people can figure that stuff out. I run all sorts of tires, Gunner. The past 2 races, I have run Burris 11s, and I have run Vega Yellows. I also this year have run Reapers, and last year it was UAS. I ran pretty much everything. I ran Maxxis, I ran Burris, and I run mostly, we'll say, There's 4. We'll go from the least to the most. The least experience I have is with Maxxis because I don't go down south all that often. Secondly, Reapers, only because they're brand new to me. I have run them twice at 2 different tracks. I've run them on the clone once, and I ran them on the open once. Both times I don't dislike the tire. Just need more experience on them. Need more time. Need time on them. And then it's a split between Vega Yellows and Burris, and that's either a Burris 11 or Burris 33 that I run for the most part. Our local track, AMS, local to me, runs Burris. They are a Burris only track, so you either run 11s or 33s depending on track conditions. And then there's a bunch of tracks around here that you can, open tires, so you can run either the Reapers or Vega Yellows. We have a lot softer tracks, so typically, and not saying always, but typically the softer Vegas are what you're going to want to run up here. That's just my point on that. Oh, my Apple Watch is telling me I can still do it. I can still get those rings to close as I'm sitting down. I was mentioning before, so the practice... I'll answer your question first. Over race with 125cc, yes. That would be open class racing or UAS racing. 2 strokes. I ran a sedan for a lot of years. We put it on a jack shaft and run a dry clutch over on, or you can run a Berkey if you want, I suppose, that the wet clutch. But 125 sedan. Typically, you're going to be looking for UAS races or run what you brung, I guess. You could run a 125, but them guys run a lot bigger engines typically. I have a YZ 250 2-stroke modified by Bowler to be a oval kart race or engine. So there's that. What's your thoughts on track tires, open tire rule versus? Okay, I have to do a video on this. Yeah. I used to wholeheartedly disagree with tire rules. I am an open tire advocate. I still am to an extent. But I will say this. I don't know that you're saving people money because once a tire is deemed to be the best tire at a track, no matter if it's a open tire rule or not, that tire is going to be the most prevalent tire at that track. Like, for instance, when I went to Adrenaline Mountain, Vega Yellow was on almost everybody's cart because it was determined that that was the fastest tire for that track. Now, the incentives, say Burris gives to a place like AMS, they get, I don't know if they get paid in general. Not up to me to find out. I don't really care how people make their money. If that's what supports your passion, so be it. They give them free product. They give end of year rewards, give away free tires and T-shirts and blah blah blah. Fantastic. It does rein in some of the uncertainty for somebody coming in that's new to that track. But it also, if you don't have those tires, you may not go to that track. So if I know that AMS is Burris only, I'm only going to bring Burris. I'm not going to worry about what's the fastest tire. Is my Reaper tire going to be faster than a Vega? Is it going to be faster than a Burris? I'm not going to be concerned about that. I'm still an open tire advocate because I believe that competition is key, and I believe that these tire companies should be pitted against one another, ideally, but also there is no incentive for them to do that. If you're Reaper, if you're Burris, if you're Vega, and you can lock up a track to where they only run your tire, good for you. That's, you did your job to sell your product, to say, hey, this is, we want you, and we're going to give you incentives to run our product, this and that. So, although I, being a UAS guy, I prefer open tire. I get it. I get why tracks have, a tire rule, and I don't disagree that it's possibly better for the local racer. Now, somebody who's traveling in, not so much. If you don't have those tires on hand, then you're kind of SOL. You don't have those tires to come run. If somebody only has Vega Yellow, say people who are running Champion, which is a track that's close by me, and they decide they want to go to AMS. Well, the tires at Champion, it was an open tire track, so they were running either bag of yellows or with the clone Reaper class, they bought Reapers. They only have those two tires, those two, those two style of tires. So when they go to AMS, now they have to buy Burris. And now, do I need, like the gentleman asked before, how many sets of tires do you need to be competitive? I would suggest anywhere 2 to 3 sets. So now they're not only in it for one set of Burris. You can do that. I've done that. I've run this year with one set of Burris for that. But you're going to be at a disadvantage because you only have that one set of tires. So there's that. I mean, it's, again, when you're talking about dirt kart racing, and Wesley's been on here and said the same thing, there are so many variabilities to everything because everything changes when you're on dirt. Everything changes from track to track, from Midwest to the west to the northeast to the north or the southeast. Everything is different all over the country. Dirt tracks are different everywhere. Tires just go hand in hand with that. Yeah. Not. I would say $1,700 on it. That's a lot. They are, and to each their own. If people are willing to pay it, it's you're not going to tell me to give me less money. So I understand it. I think there are reasonable, reputable engine builders that are more in the $1,300 to $1,400 range. Like I said before, it depends on what you're looking at. AKRA, did they do head work? If their knowledge is worth something. So if they can make you if they can port it just right, so it's not only legal, but it's making you the best horsepower, that skill set is worth money. Is it expensive? Yes, but if people are willing to pay it, if they think there is an advantage to having this one person build me an AKRA clone that is ported perfectly and I trust it, do I think that you can get them for a lot cheaper? Absolutely. Do I think that you can get them from a reputable dealer, somebody who's going to build you something that's solid for a lot less? Yes, I do. It's going to take some searching, but if you want a Miller, if you want these top end engine builders, they may have found something, and their skill set is worth something. I had this discussion / argument with I did siding one year with a friend of mine, putting siding on a house. Well, I came from automotive field, disassembling cars, doing body work, doing what I do now, but I just, a little change up or whatever. And I was out of a job that summer, so I went and did siding, and I was explaining to him that how flat rate worked. That in it, I'm not flat rate right now, I'm per hour, but if I were to be in this industry, flat rate. So it is the putting a quarter panel on your Subaru is 17 hours. And I told him that 17 hours, if I do that job in 10 hours, I still get paid for 17 hours. And he was just aghast, like, I can't believe that. That's ripping the customer off and this and that. And I said, how do you figure? And he's just like, well, you're still charging 17 hours. It only took you 10 hours to do it. And I said, do you know how to do it? And he does not. A lot of people do not. So your skill set is worth money. The people charging $1,700, if they have the skill set, if they are building reliable, great horsepower that people trust in and they're willing to pay for it, you can't fault them for doing it, and you can't fault the people for paying it or charging it. Do I think it's, you're splitting hairs there? I would rather invest, honestly, in tires, and spend more time in the garage finding corner speed. I think there's more to be gained there than there is horsepower coming from somebody who had all the horsepower I could ever want. Corner speed is king, regardless of what class you're running. Even when I had 70 horsepower underneath my right foot, corner speed is still king. So there's my opinion on that thing. maybe something to consider. Yes, $1,700 is a lot of money though. But then again, years ago, $300 box stock project. When they first introduced the clone into the system, I do see that. Oh shoot! Every time I go to think of this frickin' name, I draw a blank. They have the DNQ series there. They're going to the Ghost engine from Harbor Freight instead of clone. Similar horsepower from what I read there real briefly, but the cost is, obviously it's going to be like a Predator is. It's Predator clone or Ghost or Predator. It's going to be basically a sealed engine that makes the same, ish horsepower ish. I think they turn a lot less RPM than clones do. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. I mean, you're splitting hairs with a Chinese engine to a Chinese engine, but then again, you may see that now that the DNQ went to it, you may see other tracks kind of consider that, like, hey, we're gonna get away from the clone stuff and we're gonna go to this. But then people are gonna get their fingers in a freaking Ghost, and they're gonna, an engine builder's gonna get their hands in it and find a way to make more horsepower in that. So it's a revolving circle that just never stops. Oh, you got to have this billet, this and that, and you're allowed to take this off and do that and change pipes and yeah. I just run stock or caster, so let's take a peek. I'll pick you up. Yeah, I'm get bouncing out here real quick or short here, guys. I am running. What does that say? Does it say 7? I believe 7. Switch it around. Yeah, I got 7 there. And I believe it's 10 over here. It's just what Phantom recommends for caster. Oh, I'm looking. Sorry, guys. I believe it's 710. I got old eyes. Switch back around here. I believe it's 710 split on my Recon. So, and I believe I have the same thing on the Scythe, if I'm not mistaken. And as far as camber goes, that is relative to whatever track you're on. I'm running 0 left front. Or did I add some? I may have added some. I may be positive to 25 degrees left front. And I know I am 2 3/4 on my right front right now, and that it all depends on the banking of your track and adjustments you made at the track. If you're taking adjustments out, I used to run a lot more right front camber in my open, and then I stopped a little bit ago. I came back into the concept I was going with was that when Champ Karts, because they're a lot heavier, they're a lot I was going with they run a lot of right front camber on their stuff, so I thought the open probably could take it. I won some races on it, but as I've taken it out, as I've laid that right front tire down a little bit back into the realm of the 2.5 to 275 negative, it's just more consistent. So I started doing that, but. All right, 8:09 right now. I think I'm going to call it, guys. Remember, I'm sorry. I won't be on next week. I got to let Wesley know because it just occurred to me that Saturday I am leaving for vacation. So I'm going to be up in the Adirondacks, and unfortunately, I will be nowhere near here. And the signals, their Wi-Fi up there, I barely have, the regular signal here to get it through, and my Wi-Fi doesn't reach out into the barn, and I highly doubt I'm going to be able to stream from up there, so there's that. I'll let my sponsors this afternoon. Absolutely. Yeah, good one, Bill. Yep. If, I don't think anybody's greedy nowadays when it comes to sponsors. You can't be. So just, take it easy on people. They're, like I've said a lot, that disposable income is a very real thing, and businesses. I work for a small business. Things are tighter. Not that my shop does, but I would not take this opportunity to try and soak my boss for thousands of dollars in sponsorship because I know he just doesn't have it, and that is kind of all around that. Some businesses are doing okay. Some businesses can afford it. Some they can help you with parts and pieces and this and that. I think that's fantastic. But don't be bumming on people because they can't help you as much as maybe they have in the past. Things are a lot tighter now. It happens. But all right, guys. Thank you very much for stopping by. Oh, look at that. I made it to an hour. Sorry about the confusion at the beginning of this stream. I don't know what was up YouTube's behind, but I got it resolved. And yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Definitely let Wesley may be on, but probably not. He said I think he was going back home to visit family. So chances are we'll see you in 2 weeks here. I'll do this again. I'll post up on Dirt Kart Racer, let everybody know that we're going to do this again. But I appreciate you guys coming out and talking. I think that I like the interaction with the chat. That's a lot more fun for me. The questions are great, and it's great for Wesley to be able to dive into the technical side of things. But interacting with guys, I think that's fantastic. It's a lot of fun to do that. So, all right, guys, I'll get off here, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Later.